Hey guys, and thank you for watching this week's music tutorial. Today I want to talk about how to play in tune. And this is a complicated subject, and most of the time it just takes a lot of time to become familiar with your instrument and just a lot of practice, scale work. It just comes through the process of becoming a musician. However, and this is mostly for beginners, there are some basics that will help you in your process of learning how to play in tune, and so that's what I'll be talking about today. The first thing you might think is, well, that's obvious, but you would be surprised at how many people don't do it or how many people just skip this step. And that is to tune your open strings before you actually start playing. And it's really funny because I get some students who are so eager and excited and ready to start practicing and start learning that they just, start playing and like, wait, no, you have to tune. I try not to have my students use tuners whenever they're tuning their open strings because I want their ear to develop, but for beginners, I actually am okay with this, just because you need a frame of reference for when you're learning. So as you're learning, you need to be knowing if you're right or wrong. And so, they kind of look like this. And if you're a new musician and you don't really know how these work, basically it just picks up on the sound that you play and it tells you, it indicates if it's flat or sharp, if it's right in the middle. It usually gives you like a green light. This is one of my favorite metronomes to use. I have another one that works probably better maybe, but I like this one. What you do is you turn this little dial and you make sure that it's right, pointing straight down to the A440 sign, and you just click it on and it gives you an A. Another nice thing about this metronome is that you can adjust exactly your A440. You can turn it to A441, A442, A443. Generally, we always tune to A440. I actually have played in some orchestras that tuned to A442. Why they do that, I know there's a reason for it, but I can't remember what it is. So, but generally just always set it to A440. As you cellists out there know, the cello strings, they go in order of A, D, G, and C. So whenever we're tuning, we just set this metronome, which this right here, whenever it plays as one held note, it's called a drone. So this is a metronome, but it has a drone for tuning attached to it. Or attached, whatever, you know what I mean. So we click it on, this is A. So if you can hear, my A string is a little bit sharp right now. So I'll adjust the fine tuners because it's not that out of tune. It's still sharp. Getting better. If you're satisfied with your A string, then you can move on to the D string. All my strings are sharp right now thanks to the weather. The weather can affect tuning for sure. So once you are in a generally close-ish good area with all of your open strings, then you want to play them together. So you play A and D strings together. And then D and G. And then G and C. And whenever the strings are out of tune, if you play them together, so if you play the D string and the A string together, and if they were out of tune, then you would hear a vibration. It's kind of hard to hear, but if you listen really closely, you'll hear the sound waves and they'll vibrate. But what we want is to have just a completely pure, even wave, a sound wave. I'm not explaining this very well, but I'm trying. So right now, I'm not hearing any wobbles because D and A are in tune. So once you've checked your open A string with a tuner or drone, then you of course check the other strings, play them individually, and then play them in pairs. And always make sure that you use your bow instead of just plucking. And once you are satisfied with that, then you're good to go. Now we get into the subject of playing in tune with our fingers. And I think, well, there are several ways to work on tuning, but the way that I like best, I'll go ahead and show you. So this is called first position or block position. Finger 1 is a whole step up from your open string. So here's open D. A half step would be back here, but we want a whole step up. So from open D to E, that's a whole step. And this is where first finger is our anchor, and this is where our first position is placed. So here's finger 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you can see them right here, they're like this. So it generally looks like this. I have big ugly fingers. I need to paint my fingernails. One way you can check your tuning is with the piano. Pianos are so useful. Unfortunately, they can also get out of tune, so for your piano to be a reliable help to you in this, your piano will need to be in tune, so that's something to check. If you have a keyboard, that's probably better because keyboards don't get out of tune. If you don't have a keyboard or a tuner available, then what I would do is play fourth finger. So we're still using the D string, we're still using D string as an example, so fourth finger on the D string. And that note right there is G, because here open D, E, F, G. So G, and what else is G? This string, so yeah. So your open G down here, that's also a G. And they're an octave apart, so if you know your open strings are in tune, all you have to do is play 4 and match it against your open G string. And then play them together. And if they match, then that means your fourth finger is in tune. And if your fourth finger is set in place, then you can generally kind of figure out the spacing of your other fingers based on that. And that's not just on the D string. This is really cool. If you play fourth finger on A string, that note right there, my fourth finger right there, that is D right there. And my open D right here. We're going to play them together. And so if we do that on each string, that's how we can find first position by using the open strings to tune. If you're not naturally gifted with good intonation, don't worry, you can develop it. And it does take time, but by using the things that I've already mentioned, I think it'll really help you. And there is also something else that you can kind of use as an indicator of whether or not you're in tune. And that is to get a good ringing sound. My bow's not touching the string, but the string is still vibrating. There's still a sound coming from it. I'll play an example of an out of tune note so you can kind of hear the difference. See how it falls flat? It's very ugly. It doesn't ring and the vibrations don't continue. Now if I play in tune, it still rings. So let me just give you a quick exercise. Why don't we do the, we'll do the G major scale. That was pretty simple. So G major has 1 sharp, F sharp. F sharp is third finger on the D string right here. Everything else is natural. So just to give you a quick example. There's your G major scale. Okay, so what we're going to do with this exercise is play the individual note first, lift our bow once the note is over, and let it ring, but keep our left hand firm down on the fingerboard, and then go up bow for the next note and do the same thing. Let it ring, A. Let it ring, B. Let it ring, C. If the note that you play is in tune and it rings and you can tell that the vibrations are continuing, then you can move on to the next note. If you're not getting that really good sound, that good tone, then you need to stop and you need to go back and just do the scale over and over again. But the most important thing is that you go slowly, use your full bow, give it the opportunity to ring and not be in a hurry. And so if you're getting that good sound, go on. If not, then you need to go back and fix it. Once you've done that exercise, then what you can do is actually start connecting the bows. And so it's more of a legato stroke, and you don't have to have the space in between the notes. And of course, that's just your basic scale practicing. And I have had to correct so many of my students because they love to just rush through their scales, and that defeats a lot of the purpose of even practicing scales. Do it very, very slowly. If you have a tendency to rush through it, then put the metronome on, set it at maybe 60 or so, and do half notes. The most important thing is that you get it into your nervous system of exactly where your fingers are supposed to land. If you rush through this process, or if you skip it completely and just don't even bother doing laying the foundation, then your playing is going to suffer in the future. You may be a fantastic, flashy player who can just run through stuff like crazy, but if you don't have the foundation laid of really good intonation and good technique, then you're only going to be able to go to a certain point in your playing and not really move on from there. If you ever have any questions on this topic, please let me know. I'll probably do sequels to this video because it's such a good topic and such a foundational subject. You guys have been asking fantastic questions, so thank you for participating, and I so enjoy the dialogue, so I'm glad that these videos are able to help you guys, and as always, I hope that this one helped as well.